My name is Victoria Morgan, and I'm the older twin by 3 minutes to my sister Tiffany. Those 3 minutes might as well have been a lifetime because in our family, Tiffany was the golden child and I was just the afterthought. We grew up in a sleek Denver condo where Mom Nancy ruled her marketing empire from her phone, and Dad Douglas coded away in his home office. From the outside, we looked like a perfect middle-class family, polished, successful, untouchable. But inside those walls, fairness was a myth. Tiffany got everything: designer clothes, ballet lessons, coding camps, and Mom's endless Instagram posts boasting about her star. Me, I got hand-me-downs, a second-hand laptop, and a pat on the head if I was lucky. The moment that broke me came after college graduation. Tiffany and I both walked across that stage, diplomas in hand. I'd clawed my way to a full-ride scholarship at MIT, but did Mom or Dad care? No. They booked a 5-day Miami trip to celebrate Tiffany's degree. 3 plane tickets, none with my name. Victoria, you're independent? Mom said, her voice sharp. You'll be fine, staying home. I stood there gripping my diploma as Tiffany smirked, already posting beach selfies. But that wasn't the worst. One night, I overheard Mom whisper to Dad, "If we only had Tiffany, life would be so much easier." My heart stopped. I wasn't just invisible, I was unwanted. That's when I swore I'd make them see me not as the spare twin, but as someone they couldn't ignore. And trust me, by the end they did. Ever felt like you're invisible in your own family? Share your story in the comments, hit subscribe, and follow me to see how I turned their rejection into a victory in this raw, gripping drama. Growing up, I learned early that being 3 minutes older than Tiffany didn't mean a thing in our house. By the time we were 5, the lines were drawn. Tiffany was the star, and I was the shadow. Mom had a knack for making it clear without saying a word. She'd take us shopping at the mall, her phone buzzing with work emails, but her eyes lit up only for Tiffany. I'd watch Tiffany point at a sparkly pink dress, and it'd be in the cart before I could blink. $200, no questions asked. Me, I'd clutch a clearance rack t-shirt hoping for a nod, but Mom would snap, "Victoria, we can't afford extras." Extras? That's what I was. School didn't make it any better. When we started first grade, Mom signed Tiffany up for ballet classes, private lessons, 3 nights a week, $500 a month. She'd post videos of Tiffany's pirouettes on Instagram, racking up hundreds of likes, calling her my little ballerina. I asked once if I could try a coding camp I'd seen on a flyer, something about building apps, my kind of thing. Nancy barely looked up from her phone. "Not now, Victoria, it's too expensive." A week later, she paid for Tiffany's new ballet shoes, custom-made, shipped from New York. I stopped asking after that. Instead, I'd sneak onto Dad's old laptop watching YouTube tutorials on Python, teaching myself to code, while Tiffany practiced her spins. Dad wasn't much help either. He'd spend hours in his home office coding for some tech startup, barely noticing me. The one time I showed him a simple game, I'd built a clunky space shooter. His eyes flicked to Tiffany, who'd just walked in with a new ballet trophy. "That's great," Victoria Douglas mumbled, then turned to her. "Tiffany, tell me about your competition." I stood there, my laptop screen dimming, feeling like I'd vanished. By middle school, the gap widened. Tiffany got a brand new iPhone for her 12th birthday, top model, rose gold, $1,000. My gift, a refurbished flip phone that barely held a charge. Mom said it was practical for me, but practical didn't explain why Tiffany's phone was in every Instagram story captioned, "Proud Mom Moment." I'd scroll through Mom's posts at night, counting 50 pictures of Tiffany, her ballet recitals, her school awards. Me, one blurry shot from a science fair buried under hashtags for Tiffany's latest performance. School was my escape, but even there, Tiffany's shadow loomed. In 7th grade, I joined the math club, hoping to stand out. I worked late nights solving equations, aiming for the regional competition. When I scored a 95 on a test, I rushed home thinking maybe Mom would notice. She was at the kitchen counter scrolling through her phone. "Mom, look, I got the highest score in class," I said, holding up my paper. Nancy glanced up, nodded, then turned to Tiffany, who'd just walked in. Tiffany, how was your ballet rehearsal? Did you nail that solo? My paper stayed on the counter untouched as Tiffany launched into her story. I grabbed it and walked away, my chest tight. It wasn't just mom and dad. Even teachers compared us. In 8th grade, I built a robot for the science fair, a little rover that could pick up objects. It won first place, and I thought, finally, this is mine. But when I got home, Mom was on the phone bragging about Tiffany's lead role in the school play. "She's a natural," Nancy said, her voice loud enough for me to hear through the door. My trophy sat on my desk gathering dust while Tiffany's play got a full Instagram album, 10 photos complete with heart emojis. High school made it worse. Tiffany joined the coding club not because she cared, but because it looked good on college apps. She barely showed up yet. Mom paid for her to attend a fancy tech camp in Silicon Valley, $2,000 for a week. I begged to go, showing Mom my portfolio of apps I'd built on my own. "Victoria, you're fine studying at home," she said, her tone final. So I did. I spent nights in my room coding on that ancient laptop, building a weather app that got featured on a local tech blog. I showed Dad, hoping for a spark of pride. Douglas skimmed it, then said, "Tiffany's camp instructor thinks she's got real potential." Potential? Like I was just wasting space. The favoritism wasn't subtle anymore. At 16, Tiffany got a new wardrobe for junior year, designer jeans, cashmere sweaters, $3,000 worth. I got a $20 gift card to a thrift store. Nancy called it budgeting, but her Instagram told a different story. Tiffany modeling her new outfits, captioned, "My fashionista." I stopped checking her posts after that. It hurt too much seeing how easily she erased me. But I kept pushing. In my junior year, I won a state science award for a machine learning project. The ceremony was a big deal, local news, a shiny plaque. I invited Mom and Dad, thinking maybe this time they'd show up. They didn't. Tiffany had a ballet recital that night, and Mom posted a video of her performance captioned, "Couldn't be prouder." My award sat in my backpack unmentioned while Tiffany's recital got a family dinner, steak, wine, the works. A few weeks later, I saw a flyer for a national tech workshop, a chance to pitch my apps to real developers. I begged Mom to let me go, $500 for registration. "We're tight on money," Nancy said, her eyes on her phone. The next day, she paid for Tiffany's new drama coach $1,000 for private lessons. I stood there, my flyer crumpled in my hand, the fire inside me burning hotter. The sting of being sidelined for Tiffany's drama coach lit a fire in me, but some moments cut deeper. In my senior year, Tiffany landed a lead role in a school play, a big production with a director who'd worked in Hollywood. Mom decided Tiffany needed every spare minute to rehearse, so she handed me a list of chores to help out. Dishes, laundry, grocery runs, all on me so Tiffany could perfect her lines. One evening, I was scrubbing pots in the kitchen while Tiffany practiced her monologue in the living room, Mom coaching her every word. "Victoria, keep it quiet," Nancy snapped when the dishes clinked. "Tiffany needs to focus. This could be her big break." I gripped the sponge, my knuckles white, wondering why my time was worth less than hers. That night, I couldn't sleep. I slipped downstairs for a glass of water, my mind stuck on Mom's words. The condo was quiet except for a low murmur from the living room. I froze at the top of the stairs, hearing Mom's voice, sharp but hushed. "Douglas, if we only had Tiffany, life would be so much easier," she said. My breath caught. Dad didn't push back. "Yeah." Douglas muttered, "Victoria's so independent, she doesn't need us like Tiffany does." My heart felt like it was being crushed. I wasn't just overlooked, I was unwanted, a burden they wished they could shed. I tiptoed back to my room, my hands trembling, and pulled a notebook from under my pillow. I started writing every chore I did for Tiffany, every time they chose her over me, every moment I felt invisible. That notebook became my armor, holding the pain I couldn't voice. The next morning, I played it cool. I smiled at breakfast past the orange juice and nodded as Mom gushed about Tiffany's rehearsal. But inside, I was changed. Those words, "if we only had Tiffany," looped in my head, slicing deeper each time. I stopped chasing their approval and doubled down on my own goals. I aced AP classes, led the coding club, and built an app that landed on a national tech blog. My teachers noticed. Mr. Gary Simmons, my coding teacher, called me a game changer in front of the class. But at home, it was all about Tiffany's path to stardom. I won a national tech scholarship, $10,000 for an AI project on urban planning, but I didn't tell Mom or Dad. I knew they'd be too busy driving Tiffany to her next rehearsal. The hurt wasn't just being ignored, it was the lies they told to justify it. At a parent-teacher conference, Mr. Simmons praised my work to Nancy. "Victoria's talent is rare," he said, his voice firm. Nancy nodded, her smile thin. "She's always been so independent," she said, like that excused everything. Later, I overheard her on the phone with a friend. "Tiffany's the one with real charisma," Nancy said. "Victoria just sticks to her computer, nothing extraordinary." I stood outside her office, fists clenched, wondering how she could dismiss me after Mr. Simmons' words. It wasn't just neglect, it was like I didn't exist. One night, I hit my breaking point. I needed answers, something to explain why I was never enough. I snuck into Mom's home office after she'd gone to bed, her laptop still on. I wasn't sure what I was after, but I dug through her emails, skimming past work stuff and Tiffany's rehearsal schedules. Then I found a buried thread in a folder labeled "Personal." The sender's name stopped me cold: Heather Walsh, Mom's younger sister. I'd heard her name maybe twice, always with a bitter edge from Mom. The emails were old, full of tension about fairness and favoritism. Heather wrote Nancy, "You're blind to how you treat Victoria. It's unfair." Mom's reply was icy. "Stay out of my family, Heather. You don't get it." The thread ended there, no more replies. My heart pounded. I had an aunt who saw my pain, someone Mom had shut out for telling the truth. I sat there staring at the screen, my mind racing. Heather's email had an old address in Boulder, an hour from Denver. I scribbled it down, my hands shaking. For the first time, I felt a flicker of hope, not for Mom or Dad's love, but for someone who might actually see me. I didn't know Heather, but I knew I had to find her. That email was a lifeline, a way out of the lie that I was nothing. I shut the laptop, slipped back to my room, and tucked the address into my notebook. I wasn't sure what was next, but I knew I wasn't alone anymore. Finding Heather's email changed everything. That weekend, while Mom and Tiffany were off at another rehearsal, I took a bus to Boulder, an hour from Denver. My hands shook as I clutched the scrap of paper with Heather's address, my heart pounding with nerves and hope. What if she didn't care? What if she was like Mom? I pushed those fears aside and knocked on the door of a small, cozy house with a tidy front yard. A woman in her late 30s answered, short brown hair, warm eyes, a coding textbook under her arm. "You must be Victoria." "Heather," said her voice, soft but sure, like she'd been expecting me. I nodded, my throat tight, and she pulled me into a hug so warm it felt like she was holding on to a lost piece of herself. Inside Heather's house was nothing like our cold condo. Bookshelves overflowed with coding manuals and sci-fi novels. A laptop hummed on her kitchen table next to a steaming coffee mug. She sat me down, poured me tea, and asked about my life, not just school, but me, the real me. I spilled everything: Mom's favoritism, Dad's indifference, the chores I did so Tiffany could chase her dreams. "Nancy was always like that," Heather said, her voice heavy with regret. "When we were kids, she needed to be the star. I called her out for how she treated you, and she cut me off, hasn't spoken to me in years." I sat there, my tea cooling, realizing Mom hadn't just erased me, she'd erased anyone who challenged her. Heather didn't just listen, she became my mentor. A freelance programmer for startups, she saw potential in me. Mom never did. "You've got a real gift," she said, scrolling through my weather app on her laptop. She started teaching me advanced coding, Python frameworks, machine learning tools I'd only read about online. We'd spend weekends in her home office debugging code, laughing over my rookie mistakes. For the first time, someone believed in me without me having to beg for it. One afternoon, after we'd finished a tough algorithm, Heather handed me a small box. Inside was a key fob with a Tesla logo. "It's a Model 3, she said, pointing to a sleek white car outside. "For you, Victoria, your own path." My eyes stung not from pain, but from trust. $40,000 worth of trust Mom and Dad never gave me. I kept the Tesla at Heather's, not ready to bring it home. Instead, I took a part-time job at a tech library near school, organizing coding workshops for kids and shelving books on AI. The pay was modest, about $100 a week, but it gave me independence. I'd spend evenings there sketching ideas for a new AI project, one that could optimize energy use in cities. Heather helped me refine it, and I submitted it to a national science scholarship. When the acceptance letter came, $20,000 and a spot in a research program, I felt a rush like never before. I told Mom and Dad at dinner, sliding the letter across the table. "That's nice, Victoria." Nancy said, her eyes on her phone. "Tiffany, how's your play coming along?" Tiffany smirked, diving into a story about her latest role. Dad nodded, barely glancing at me. I folded the letter and left my heart steady but not surprised. Their indifference didn't stop me. I kept working, balancing school, the library job, and weekends with Heather. My AI project started getting noticed. One tech blog called it groundbreaking, and it hit 1,000 downloads. Mr. Simmons, my coding teacher, pulled me aside after class. "Victoria, you're going places," he said, his voice firm. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." I nodded, gripping my backpack, but at home it was all about Tiffany. Mom booked her another drama coach, $2,000 for private lessons, while my name in a tech magazine went unnoticed. Dad stayed glued to his laptop, muttering about work. Their silence was deafening, but it didn't break me. Heather's lessons, the Tesla key, the scholarship, they were my strength. Every trip to Boulder made me feel bigger. Heather's house was my safe haven, where I could be myself without fighting for it. She'd share stories of breaking free from Mom's shadow, building her own life as a coder. "You're not just surviving, Victoria," she said one evening, her eyes locked on mine. "You're creating something they can't touch." I held on to those words, letting them drown out Mom's dismissals and Tiffany's smirks. I wasn't the spare twin anymore. I was someone with a future, ready to make them see it on my terms. Graduation day was a whirlwind of cheers and navy blue gowns at Denver University. I stood on the stage, clutching my diploma, announced as valedictorian class of 2025. The crowd's cheers echoed, but my eyes fixed on the empty family seats. Mom and Dad were in Miami, throwing a 5-day celebration for Tiffany's graduation, sun-soaked beaches, cocktails, all for her. They'd booked 3 plane tickets, none for me. "Victoria, you'll be fine," Mom had said over the phone, her tone sharp. "This is Tiffany's moment." I gripped my diploma, my chest tight, as Tiffany's Instagram flooded with posts captioned "Family Paradise." I'd just secured a full-ride scholarship to MIT, tuition, housing, everything covered, but no one at home cared enough to notice. After graduation, I threw myself into preparing for MIT. I spent days in my room finalizing my enrollment forms and joining online workshops for incoming students. One session, a virtual panel with MIT professors, had me presenting my AI energy-saving model to a group of tech recruiters. I practiced for hours, perfecting every answer, hoping Mom and Dad might watch the live stream link I'd sent them. They didn't. Tiffany had a drama showcase that evening, and Nancy was there recording every line for her portfolio. Mr. Simmons, my coding teacher, messaged me after the panel. "You were phenomenal, Victoria," he wrote. But at home, it was like I didn't exist. The day they returned from Miami, I was taping up my last box in the condo. The SUV rolled into the driveway, and Mom, Dad, and Tiffany stepped out, tanned, laughing, suitcases piled high. Tiffany strutted in a designer sundress, her hair styled like a starlet. Mom's eyes caught the Tesla Model 3 parked outside, a gift from Aunt Heather I hadn't mentioned. "Whose car is that?" she asked, her tone slicing the air. I twirled the key fob, my voice steady. "Mine," I said. "Aunt Heather gave it to me for graduation." The room froze. Nancy's jaw clenched, her phone already in her hand. Dad's eyes widened and Tiffany let out a sharp scoff, half jealous, half mocking. Nancy dialed Heather on speaker before I could speak. "Heather, it's Nancy," she said, her voice trembling with fury. "A $40,000 Tesla." "Are you serious?" Heather's voice came through, calm and unyielding. "Nancy, I gave it to someone who's earned it. Victoria deserves it." Mom's face flushed red. "Tiffany needs a car too. She's got college auditions." I nearly laughed. Tiffany, fresh off a Miami trip draped in designer gear, needed a car. Heather didn't flinch. "You've given Tiffany everything, Nancy. Victoria's been invisible to you for years." The call ended abruptly, Mom's hand shaking, her phone still gripped tight. Dad stepped forward, his voice low. "Victoria, that car's too much," he said. "Tiffany could use it for her acting gigs, it's only fair." I stared at him, my pulse racing but my resolve ironclad. "I'm keeping it," I said, my voice cutting through the silence. "I've earned it." Nancy's eyes flashed. "Don't be selfish," she snapped. "We're a family. You need to support Tiffany." I reached into my bag, pulling out an envelope. "This is my MIT scholarship," I said, sliding it across the table. "Full ride, tuition, housing, everything. I leave next week." Their mouths opened, no words coming out. Tiffany's phone slipped from her hand, her smirk vanishing. I wasn't done. The night before, I'd spent hours drafting a LinkedIn post, pouring out years of truth. Mom's favoritism, Dad's neglect, the chores I did so Tiffany could shine. I hit post on my phone, my hand steady. "Check your feeds," I said, locking eyes with Mom. "It's all there, how you chose Tiffany over me every single time." The post went live, detailing the ignored scholarships, the Tesla from Heather, the years of being the spare twin. Within hours, it exploded. Classmates, teachers, even Mom's co-workers commented, calling out her bias. Nancy's phone buzzed with notifications, her face paling as she read the backlash. "Victoria, how could you do this?" she whispered, her voice cracking. Tiffany stared, her usual confidence crumbling. Dad tried to speak, his tone softer. "Victoria, we didn't mean to hurt you," he said. "We thought Tiffany needed us more." I shook my head, my voice firm. "You didn't think about me at all." I grabbed my bag, the Tesla key in my pocket, and headed for the door. Tiffany called out, her voice sharp. "You're just leaving. What, you think you're better than us now?" I turned, meeting her eyes. "No," I said. "I just know I don't need you to see me." I stepped outside the door, closing behind me, their suitcases still in the driveway. I wasn't turning back. I was already on my way to a life I'd built myself. I left Denver on a crisp August morning, the Tesla's soft hum carrying me toward Boston. Aunt Heather followed in her old hatchback, her steady presence in my rearview mirror, a reminder I wasn't alone. The highway stretched ahead, each mile pulling me away from the condo where I'd been invisible, toward a future I'd built on my own. MIT's campus buzzed with life coders hunched over laptops, researchers scribbling on whiteboards, ideas sparking like wildfire. I settled into my dorm, a small room with a desk stacked with textbooks, and felt a rush of freedom. For the first time, I wasn't Tiffany's shadow, I was Victoria, ready to carve my own path. MIT classes were a whirlwind, a relentless mix of algorithms and late-night coding sessions. I dove in, debugging neural networks alongside classmates who saw me for my work, not my past. One of them, Cassandra Holt, a computer science major from Seattle, became my closest ally. We'd grab coffee between lectures, swapping ideas over steaming mugs. "You're kind of a rock star," Cassandra said one afternoon, grinning as I demoed my latest app, a tool for optimizing public transit routes. I laughed, my heart lighter than it had been in years. With her, I didn't have to fight for space, I just belonged. We'd hunker down in the library, coding until dawn, or slip onto the dorm roof to watch Boston's skyline glow, dreaming of startups that could change the world. Back in Denver, my LinkedIn post had taken off like a rocket. It racked up thousands of views, hundreds of shares, and comments from classmates, professors, even strangers. "You're unstoppable," one wrote. "Your family should be ashamed," another said. Mr. Simmons, my high school coding teacher, shared it, adding, "Victoria's always been exceptional. This proves it." The post hit Mom's professional circle, her colleagues, clients, even her boss, sparking whispers that reached her office. Cassandra kept me updated, her eyes wide as she read the latest reactions. "Your mom's getting called out hard?" she said, half amused, half stunned. I didn't revel in it, just felt a quiet resolve that the truth was out, no longer trapped in my notebook. A month into MIT, my phone pinged with a text from Mom. "Victoria, can we talk?" It read, her tone softer than I'd ever known. "We're sorry we didn't see how much we hurt you. Can we fix this?" I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to believe her, to hope for a family that valued me. But then I heard her voice again, "If we only had Tiffany," and saw the years of chores, ignored apps, and empty seats. I set the phone down, no response. I wasn't bitter, just done chasing their love. I had Aunt Heather, Cassandra, and a future I'd forged myself. I took a part-time gig at a Boston tech startup coding algorithms for sustainable urban systems. The pay was modest, $200 a week, but the work felt right. I'd spend afternoons tweaking transit models, my Tesla parked nearby, a quiet symbol of Aunt Heather's belief in me. One evening, Cassandra dragged me to a campus hackathon. We teamed up, built an app for real-time traffic analytics, and took first place, $5,000, and a pitch to investors. "Rockstar as always," Cassandra said, nudging me as we split the prize. I grinned, the weight of Denver fading with every new step. Aunt Heather called every week, her voice a steady anchor. "You're killing it," she said after I told her about the hackathon. "I always knew you would." I clutched the phone, my eyes stinging, not from pain, but from being seen. She sent care packages, coffee beans, tech magazines, notes that read, "Keep shining, Victoria." I pinned them to my dorm wall next to my MIT letter and Tesla key, proof that love didn't need conditions. 2 months later, Mom texted again. "Victoria, we miss you," she wrote. "Tiffany's struggling in college, she could use your help. We're still family, right?" I read it, my heart calm. Tiffany struggling. Maybe. But I'd carried her weight for years and I was done. I didn't reply, didn't block her, just let the message sit. I wasn't running from them. I was running towards something bigger. My app downloads soared, 40,000 and counting. The startup offered me a full-time role after graduation, leading their AI team. I said yes, no hesitation. Boston became more than a city, it was my home. I'd walk through campus, my backpack heavy with code and ambition, feeling the freedom of being enough. Cassandra and I hit late-night diners, splitting fries and sketching out our next project. One night, under the neon glow of a diner sign, she asked, "Do you ever think about going back?" I shook my head. "I'm already where I belong," I said. I'd spent years chasing a spotlight that wasn't mine, but now I had my own bright, unapologetic, built line by line. Choosing myself was the hardest thing I'd done, but it was worth it. I didn't need Mom's apologies or Tiffany's approval to know my worth. I found it in Aunt Heather's trust, Cassandra's friendship, and the code I wrote. Family isn't just where you start, it's where you're seen, where you're enough. And I was finally enough.